Alrighty. You wanna more of that? Come on. Yeah! What? Yeah! So who's hungover? Hands. Who's drunk? Wait. Nice. So welcome to the Friday keynote, the Eve keynote of this 2011 Fanfest. Welcome. Welcome everyone. So we did the welcome part, now let's do the welcome everyone. It's always a bit of a funny thing to start these things off with a bit of a sort of comparison to the last Fanfest. We had the last Fanfest in 2009. It's been about roughly 18 months since. So let's run through some key numbers of what's happened in those 18 months in terms of sort of stats. Doing a diff, it's very fun. Back in 2009, our development staff was about 84 people, 84 developers. Today, it's about 138. Our concurrent users, our PCU, was 53,850, which is, you know, respectable, except 63,170 is much better. Hell yeah! Let's give that shit a hand. And Eve players, or also known as you guys, us guys, all of us, were 302,657 on the date of that FanFest started in 2009. Now it's 360,634. It's 20%. Good stuff, right? Good stuff. So 18 months is, I mean, it's a substantial tract of time. A lot can happen in 18 months, right? For example, it is the time since last FanFest. Stop laughing. Over 18 months, I don't know how many billions of ISK are stolen in Eve in various scams and crap, right? That guy. In 18 months, alliances will rise and fall into oblivion. Internet celebrities, born and forgotten. Who remembers that guy from 18 months ago that was famous and did stuff, right? Some people maybe, I don't know. Can't remember his name. Also, 18 months is the amount of time that we're, you know, just focusing on new stuff and not doing anything that you guys care about, right? That's sort of the, oh shit, what? Is that, oh fuck, misunderstanding. Oh Jesus, oh God, it's the forums. The forums arrived. Oh Christ, make it stop. Oh God, he's gonna choke me. Oh God! 18 months. But seriously, that whole thing, right? Who remembers that? There was a lot of miscommunication, and it was through players and through the CSM, through the Council of Stellar Management, obviously, that we sort of cleared up that little misunderstanding, right? And we figured the problem in a lot of these areas is sort of lack of communication. It's miscommunication, sure, but a lot of it is just lack of communication. We're not telling you guys about all the cool stuff that we do, sort of low level, high level, and all the way through. So this presentation is to give you sort of a glimpse, and believe me, this is only a glimpse, into all the cool stuff that we've been doing over the past 18 months and that we're working on currently. If we were going to do an entire presentation of that, we'd have to have another FanFest next week that went on for 5 days. With no drinking. No drinking. I'm joking, come on. Of course they'd be drinking. So anyway, in an effort, you guys are seriously aroused by alcohol. It's creepy. Skosh. Skosh! Because those guys are drinking. We can always do better. And to help you understand and to help us explain, we use a little analogy. Anyway, group hugs, right? Those guys. More? More? Yay! Anyway, to help explain that a bit, we usually use an analogy. Sort of how hard is it to really keep Eve, you know, alive, doing well, performing, and all that stuff. We use an analogy that keeping Eve running and doing add-ons to it is sort of like doing maintenance on a Formula One car mid-race. with the engine running while doing 300 kilometers an hour in like empirical crazy numbers, while the other cars are actually actively bumping into you, and the driver is throwing rocks at you, and your phone is ringing, and shit's on fire, and what? I kind of lost my train of thought. Anyway, so it's really about sort of, we're always supporting larger and larger numbers of players. I mean, there's always more and more of you. Where do you guys come from? What is this? Crazy? We have bigger and bigger fleet fights. There are more market transactions, more missions. We also have just older code. Let's face it, I mean, EVE's been running for almost 8 years. Obviously, there's code in there that's sort of pre-Jurassic period, and we sort of have to keep working on that to make it more whatever the next period was. Cretaceous, right? No? Flirtatious? That was a different period. And we're always adding more and more content, more and more systems. There has to be balance between this. So, I mean, this is hard. This is tricky. And the way we're tackling it, click, is with dedicated teams working on sort of isolated and sort of segmented parts of the client and of the server. For example, on performance improvements, doing usability and quality of life fixes, cluster health, which is sort of the stuff you guys don't really see, but you'd see it if we weren't doing it, believe me. Security issues, for example, with the little fob thing in your goodie bag, which Shrieks was announcing yesterday, which is going to be active pretty soon. Soon, right? TM. I can't do a TM thing with my hands, can I? And just in general, improving code quality and robustness and all of that, while also doing all of the sexy stuff we do, which is quite a lot of sexy. So to talk a bit about each of these things and some others, I'm going to get some people to walk on stage and explain it better than me, because if I were to explain it, I'd look pretty stupid, because I don't know a lot about these things. Anyway, talking about sort of cluster performance, CCP Yokai and CCP Atlas. Give them a good hand, guys.
Thanks, Arnar. Okay, so I'm Nonni, and I'm with EVE Software.
And I'm Derek, and I'm with EVE Hardware.
And today we're going to talk about fleet fights.
Later, maybe?
So this guy would say, have you guys fixed lag yet? Breathing down our necks. So fleet fights right now are pretty good. Tranquility is in a better state than it has ever been before. We have fleet fights with 400, 500, 600 people a few times each week, and it's just phenomenal. We hardly feel it at all in the servers, and the user experience is very good. We can have 700, 800 person fleet fights with very little lag on a dedicated node. Right, Eric?
Yeah.
And he has to provide the dedicated nodes. And we even have over 1,000 person fleet fights going on every month, and they're quite playable. And this is the equivalent of you, maybe, I don't know, in a strange scenario, picking a dagger from underneath your chair and stabbing the next person in the face in this auditorium. There's that many people who are kicking the hell out of each other every month on TQ.
Is that really like playable though?
Well, I mean, you would take maybe 5 minutes to stab him in the face, but I mean, it's still pretty enjoyable. You're stabbing people in the face.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, the cluster has never been as healthy as it is today, and that's always an enjoyable thing to be able to tell people. We're using an arsenal of thin clients in our development environment, and if you've read some of our blogs, you've probably gotten the skinny of those. We have improved profiling tools, both internal ones and are bringing in from third parties to measure the performance and the state of the code during our tests, and also on Tranquility in the production environment. That has yielded tremendous benefits. We're doing structured mass tests on CC, where we are actually reaching out to alliance leaders, and those are rallying the troops to help us out so that we can simulate actual fleet fights on CC with a high degree of accuracy. We're making performance improvements every month to the code. We have this new process that's called the skunkworks process, and that allows us to identify an issue, fix it, and deploy the fix to Tranquility in a safe and targeted manner, even on a node-by-node basis, in a period of a few weeks. And that's something that we've never been able to do before, and it's actually pretty amazing. And we even have our developers, our senior programmers, in the middle of the night in these fleet fights on Tranquility, monitoring from in-game and in the backend. So the next time you're having a fleet fight with 1,200 of your closest friends and enemies, then remember to say hi in local.
You ever been in one of those?
Oh yeah, plenty of them, including this one.
Yeah.
So what often happens on TQ is that there's a lot of fighting going on. And if your friendly neighborhood dev just happens to accidentally decloak in the middle of a 1,000-person blob, then he can be pretty sure that within like 5 seconds and 15 minutes, depending on lag, around a dozen people shoot him. And I actually have the kill mail from this thing here. And I'm pretty sure there are some people in the audience that participated in that kill. And I know you're, yeah, that's the guy.
The logs don't show anything, man, sorry.
So anyway, so I'm not saying that we support 3,000-person fleet fights, but we have had one of those, and we are still making improvements, and we are still making the cluster better. Team Gridlock. I want to give a big shout out to these guys. They've spent the last 6 to 8 months just really, really cranking out code and making improvements to Tranquility. You probably know them better by their dev names. You've probably seen them on the forums and in dev blogs, and probably even in your local channel telling you guys to stop using drakes. These guys have a presentation in multi after this one, and you guys should definitely want to check that out if you like graph porn and get a better understanding of what they're doing. At the end of the day, this is what we look at. Or more importantly, this is what Hilmar F5s through his browser every morning when he shows up to work. This is the CPU per user metric throughout the cluster. And here's when Team Gridlock start to work. And the CPU per user dropped throughout the cluster by a factor of 20% to 30% over 6 to 8 months. And that is actually pretty spectacular. That gives Derek's CPUs time to do some other more meaningful things.
Yeah, I burn a lot of CDs.
Yeah. And even the forum wine index is another very important metric to us. If you look really hard and kind of squint your eyes, you can almost see it go down. But at the end of the day, this is what we and you care about. We care about good fleet fights. A year ago, we were having a large fleet fight, which was pretty typical of the time. We had a couple of node crises. We had Derek and me scratching our heads and trying to figure out how to make stuff work. Today, people, they come into the system, they shoot the hell out of each other, they curse CCP for the lag, of course, then they get out and get on with their lives. So, there we go. We have finally won the war on lag, Derek.
On Iraq? What?
On lag.
Oh, lag, I'm sorry.
No, not really. So, if we support 500 people, what are you guys going to do? You guys are going to be 1,000, right? We support, what, 800? You guys are bringing 1,500 on a regular basis and complaining about the lag. We support 1,000 people. 1,000 people in a single solo system fighting it out. What do you guys do? 3,246 people. Guys, what the hell is that about? God damn it. So no, we're not done yet, and we'll never be done. But we're getting better at it. We're getting a lot better. And over to you, Derek. You wanted to show a CPU or a network cable?
Well, you know what I figured out is that I know that you guys can't do any better than maybe 1,000 players in the system, but I do have a way to get us 3,000 players in a supported fleet fight.
Are you checking in code now? Or?
No, it's, screw software, hardware, man. So we built this server. It's the Frankenstein server. It actually works. And we can get 3,000 players into a fleet fight here with minimal lag. It's doable. Just this is why you need hardware. You can't do everything by yourself.
Yeah, okay.
So basically what we end up doing is we keep carrying software. That's what hardware has to do nowadays. The guys are doing some really great things with improvements, but literally they're on my back all day. A few things that we want to talk about is how things iterate with us lately. You've seen us do some testing in JIT, and there's a lot of whine about why you're trying to fix JIT. We actually don't want to fix JIT. JIT is just fine like it is, so we don't need more spam and local lag. But it's a good place for us to test how we're iterating on software and what our hardware is doing, what kind of impact it can have in a system in a state that we can test fairly easily. So we went from 1,400 to about 2,000 players in a system with a hardware upgrade. And if you look back, we were able to take the current system is capped at about 2,000, I think, but that's completely software back on the old hardware. And we think that'll go up to 2,500 as well. And with this bad boy, I don't know, 10,000 a jitta, something like that. Another term that we've been using a lot lately is supernodes. It's something we've talked about a little bit on the forums. We're starting to do a few new things. We put a server in place that's a little bit of a higher end CPU, but less of a CPU benchmark performance increase. It's actually more of a memory increase. Testing to see what the limitations are with Eve. Is it really all CPU? What else can we do to enhance the system? And we're able to get the lag-free flights up a little higher there, but it didn't make as big a difference as we needed it to. This bad boy can push 1,200 without lag, maybe 2,000 playable. And there's some Intel and IBM guys in the room that won't allow me to say what we actually just did, but the night before last, I ordered about $50,000 in servers. I ordered a $50,000 server. And so that new toy is going to go in, and I'm going to put IBM on the spot here in 4 weeks because they're fast. But it got ordered Thursday night after some Brennivan and a few beers and some discounts. And that is the discounted price, assholes. And it's an unannounced processor from Intel and an unannounced server from IBM. We'll be the first company to ever go production with it. We'll also be the first company to have it in Europe, and we'll also be the first game company. So first, right? We like being first. You want to be number 2? No, you want to be number 1, right? Okay. So check your local in a few weeks. Fleet Fights, 2,000. No problem. What are you talking about?
So that means these guys will bring 5,000 then? Or?
Yeah, they can bring what they want. We just won't crash anymore. Yeah, it's nice. And then also just really quickly, there's some new things we put in place. You may have seen we made some changes to how Fleet Fight's request work. Previously, you requested a Fleet Fight node to be dedicated, and it went into a large paper basket, and then once every 6 months, we went through and we checked those and started dedicating nodes. Now that system is completely automated. We have some predictive tools that are telling us when your pauses are coming out of reinforced. We haven't started using these yet, and we're starting to see what modules that cause fights to happen are in a vulnerable state. We're starting to use that to predict where you're going to have a fight. And then the notifications tools themselves are now 100% automated. This means that every single time you make a request, it will get dedicated to a dedicated node every time. You do not need to open up 2 requests. You do not need to call the CSM, because they just do stuff to our forums and whine. We love CSM, sorry. Shit. Okay, yeah. Security, take his badge. Okay. And I'm going to get off the stage now because I'm going to get in trouble.
Okay, awesome, nice. Hey, Derek, you forgot your whatever the fuck. Anyway, so that was pretty cool. Quick check. When software was talking about, the analogy of having a knife under your seat and stabbing each other in the face, how many checked for a knife? Out! You scare me. Get out. Anyway. This is all for performance improvements for what we're talking about, like the stuff you guys don't really see, but you would see if we weren't doing it. There's also a lot of stuff we're doing that you will see, that we have been doing. One of those things is a new UI framework. So we've actually been updating the framework for the user interface in Eve over the past few months, building something that's going to allow us to take, this as you know it, this is Eve. It's also very blurry, but it's Eve. Over to something more like this, the stuff you're seeing in the trailers. And this is obviously just placeholder art, but the framework we're building is going to let us do this. So let's give the guys working on that a round of applause. Also coming down the pipes, a new font. What up? So we carefully selected a font that would be readable at small sizes. We're updating the font rendering engine. It's going to be hitting the public testing server soon. You guys are going to see it. The new Eve font, ladies and gentlemen, Comic Sans. What? No, but seriously, we're still doing this. This is real. Here's a comparison shot. I just realized it doesn't really show well, but the new font has a bit of more spacing. It's more easily readable, and you're going to see it on the public test servers very, very soon. yes, you can see the difference between O and 0, and 1 and L, and capital I and L, and all these crazy things that you never saw the difference between, causing you to do terrible things on the market. Terrible things on the market. Anyway, but there's a whole host of these things, and to talk about this, there's a whole team working on this. To talk about this, the leader of sort of Team BFF, doing the quality of life fixes that we all love. This is led by a very hardworking, very serious game professional. This guy. What up? Welcome on stage, Christopher. Give him a hand.
Thanks, Arnar. How are you feeling today? Yeah. Okay, guys. I've had the pleasure of working on some really big features, and I'm now working on some really small stuff, and I kind of just want to take you through the different sizes of stuff. Usually, we've been doing really big stuff. Like, if they ask us to build a tank, it's not just like some small paper tank. It's a massive, like, apartment complex-sized thing with 3 guns, and apparently needs a vehicle to drive beside it to even move, and a guy smoking, looking cool. And we've put a lot of those features in, and they're cool. But at some point, when you've been running a game for 7 or 8 years, you kind of have to look at some of the small stuff, because that guy's pretty cool as well. You're looking at the tank, and then you're looking at that guy, and you go like, fuck, that guy kicks ass. So what do? Do you just build 1 tank or 10 of that guy? And at the end of the day, why don't we just like do both? I think I'm going to start out with some of the big features. The big features we still need. I mean, you've seen the wormholes come out. They're a fantastic expansion to our entire universe, thousands of systems. You have the incursions, you have solve warfare, you have Pi, Tech 3, character creator. All this stuff, we need to expand the universe. Like, you have to have the real vibrant feel. It's like if you look at the old Western movies and you see the cowboy walking down the street and he's walking past all these houses. They were just all like these wooden plates that were painted over. Like, it wasn't real. It wasn't real houses, and we need that. We can't have a universe where you fly around, you can't have your avatar, you can't play with the planets. There's all these things that you need to kind of know what's on the other side of the mountain, and that's what some of the big features do. They also give you new game experiences. If all you could do in EVE was mine, it would be boring. In fact, it would be really terribly boring. But we kind of want you to be able to do warfare, faction warfare, Pi, all these other things. So if you're the kind of guy who likes to do one thing, we're not just going to restrict you to some very limited feature set. This is like just the big palette of stuff you want to do. It's just really integral, and we have to also stay ahead of the company. This is like an old VCR. Like, don't stand in front of the laser, baby. Anyway, I mean, we see some of the other games coming out, and there's a tremendous amount of games on the market. Star Trek Online launched with Avatar and spaceship combat. The truth is that stuff like Incarnate is just stuff that's integral to building our universe and just maintaining a really good game. So let's talk a little bit about incursions, because that's the last big feature I worked on. And incursions are pretty cool. And yeah, like incursions. If I clicky would click more. So what are incursions all about? At the end of the day, incursions are all about love. It's all about love. This is what we really wanted to build. There's a lot more to it, but at the end of the day, it's love. We just want strangers like these 2 young men getting together. We just want people to talk to each other openly. And I mean, a lot of this stuff, when we thought about it, when someone suggested, why don't we have a constellation-wide chat where people can just interact? And some people were like, are you out of your mind? You're just going to allow them to talk to each other, complete strangers in EVE? Like, people are going to be leaving EVEs in droves because they'll be blown up and scammed and stuff like that. And I mean, we just thought, why not? Why wouldn't players in EVE just react like other people who play games and just band together even if they don't know each other? You kind of want to have like the common enemy that you can get together. You kind of want to feel that you're fighting someone that's not necessarily another player. And we kind of found that with the Sanchez and just getting people to love each other. It's just human interaction. This is one of the design principles we have at CCP, which not a lot of people may know, but a lot of the interesting alliance warfare, a lot of the small-scale PvP, all this is just people just using a set of tools that we provided. The interesting part isn't who blows who up. The interesting part is the spying, the planning, all the stuff that people do that doesn't necessarily happen inside the game. And of course, I mean, we did some other stuff. We wanted to try something new. Don't try this. I Googled try something new, and this is the first picture that come up. Do not ever drink gasoline. Try something safe like bungee jumping. We did some objective PvE. Instead of just having everyone just jump in and randomly shoot stuff, we kind of wanted people to get together around some goal they had to complete instead of just the usual stuff. Although that exists as well, we want to provide you guys with as much fun as you can possibly have. Living, breathing world, no instances. The thing is that when we drop these incursions on people, people either really like it or they get annoyed. There's not really an indifference in between, which I think is the most tragic thing you can have in games. If you put a new feature in that doesn't really touch people, where everything's optional and you can go like, oh, I mean, I'll just exclude myself from this part of the universe. In fact, I'd rather have you happy or annoyed than not care. And that's kind of what incursions did. More challenging NPCs. We have a modular AI now. Before we just had stupid belt rat or sleeper. Now we kind of chopped it down so we can put parts of it wherever we want. We built a load of new stuff. They have actual roles other than move forward and fire. Now they do stuff like scramble on web, which they did before, but also like in more advanced roles, and sniper frigates that shoot battleships. We have all kinds of fun stuff. We also put in a new reward system, which was a little bit of a gamble because people are so used to bounties, and we didn't really know how people would react if we put in something that wasn't just press button, receive money. And we're kind of happy with it. You know, we can reward people as playing together as a group and just everyone equally within the group. We kind of wanted to get away from the whole thing where you go out alone, and the more people you have with you, the less fun you have because they take your money. The system we put in, we just turned it upside down and said, well, the more people you bring, the better. Up until a certain upper limit, of course, because otherwise you'd all be in the same site. So what did we end up with? Well, a lot of people died to begin with. That's the first thing. I think that the first 24 hours, more people died than I could ever kill as a player. That's a good 24 hours. Well, people got together. Turns out that the servers didn't just crash and burn and everyone left. It turned out that players in EVE just sit down, talk to each other, do PvE, and form friendships. There was a little bit of a Concord issue where people would Concord entire fleets, but apart from that, everyone else was really, really good about it. We tied storyline into it. It's really cool to have the event guys just run events up and just have a massive like event explosion launching everything. And we kind of redid PvE. Instead of the old stuff, you guys got entirely new NPCs, you got new reward systems, you got new channels to communicate. I think we just kind of hit the nail on the head with a lot of this stuff. And of course we reached, and when I say reached, we made you happy or annoyed you wherever you are. Doesn't matter if you're in high sec, low sec, or zero sec. And I actually just watched the markets the other day, and I think we've had 2 mothership blueprints drop in low sec, and one of them is currently going at an auction at around 70 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a massive space poop, as the artist that drew it called it yesterday. But anyway, so we did incursions, and then it was time for this guy. Yeah, lots of this guy. So what are the small changes? Well, the small changes are a little bit like Voltron. It's basically a load of changes stacked together. Like if you imagine all the changes is that green cat, and then at some point that becomes his arm, and there's other changes, and then he just punches you in the face. Or at least kind of gives you the same value as a big expansion. It's basically all the small stuff. It's not necessarily new NPCs and flashy stuff. It's just all the clicky stuff that just pisses you off day to day. We mostly get them from you as well. We have a lot of forum presence. The Akita T made a really, really good thread, which we keep our eyes on most of the time. The CSM has an internal list, and because there's a lot of people within CCP that care, we actually had CCP Torvi put up an internal website where people could put it up, and that's kind of like our primary sources for getting information about this. Voltron, that's what you get in the end. What are the kind of the aims of all this? Well, we kind of want this to be the user experience. Push button, receive bacon. No matter what you do, that's a really, really good way of doing it. I'm going to give you some examples of the different kind of stuff we have in here. So Less clicking, for example. Loot logging. If you've ever formed a fleet, you know that there's a loot logging window that pops up, asks you if you want to have loot logging on, off, or do you just want it by default. And we collected some metrics from the server, and the vast majority of people actually have loot logging on. So we just went with that, and we just killed the pop-up box and simply turned it on by default. So that means that instead of getting all these windows when you want to do a really simple action like just forming a fleet, you just form the fleet now. I mean, we turned the loot logging on by default. This doesn't in any way impede you from being a complete jerk and still stealing the loot. It's just you'll get spotted now, which you would before as well, according to our user statistics. But carry on jerking. Some of the stuff that just... I see what I did there. There's also just some stuff that didn't make sense. You have 1,000 items in your hangar. You select all, and then you repackage, and because you have one broken item, everything breaks. That just doesn't really make sense. So we changed that around, so now it actually repackages everything, and then it breaks on the last item, so you can go fix those. Just simplifying things as well, we put in more default overviews. If you're a new player, you don't really want to get into the jungle of the making your own overview, so you just have a few simple ones. Now, once you become an advanced user and you know what you're doing, you can still go tailor them. This is basically just to help people in, instead of just basically saying, welcome to EVE Online, here's a Rubik's Cube, go fuck yourself. There's also a lot of hidden information that's really widely available. Something like not displaying the true sex status in 0.0 is really silly. It would be a great idea if you had to kind of figure it out. But now we're just basically sending people to other websites instead of just putting it in the client where it should just really be displayed. Oh, the new stuff. That's true. I almost forgot about that. I have a few changes with me. We've just finished up our work for one release, and we've started on the next one, and I figured I'd cheat a little bit. Do you want to hear about some of the new changes? A little bit louder. I have a few changes for you. Okay, so do you remember this chart? This is basically agent divisions. So if you want to run kill missions, you go to the guy that has 97% chance of giving you what you want and 3% chance of pissing you off. So what we did is we got rid of that. They're just going to have one division gives you one type of mission. No surprises, just giving you what you actually came for. This one, agent quality, ended up biting us a little bit in the butt because you have everyone in Matsu, and you have corporations and agents that are completely useless, and people can't really live where they want. We're kind of like, live in Matsu. If you like agents, that's it. So we removed agent quality completely. So instead of having 20 useless agents and one good, you'll basically just be able to pick from whatever level you're working within. The onboard scanner was really great sometime last century, but then we put the scan probes in, and they're much more efficient. So we upped the range considerably and cut the time down, so it's actually going to be a viable tool now instead of just only having the probes. The next one's my favorite. Blueprints, blueprint copies, can't tell them apart. We killed that as well. I actually got to look at these last Wednesday just before Fanfest started, and the copies look really, really cool, and you will be able to tell them apart. We didn't just give them the same color. That would be dumb. Can you stack them? No, sorry, they're still unique because you have to have the different research metrics on it still apply, and that kind of makes it difficult. Sadly, sorry. So when you put in the implants and you have to stop training, that's a really annoying step, so we moved that as well. You should just be able to plug your implant in and not worry about where you're training. And last but not least, this is one of the things that we've gone through a long list of things, and this is pretty much what we see most consistently. If you live in wormholes, you're going to be able to change your subsystems at a pause. Drunk wormhole drillers on second row excited. Anyway, That's pretty much it for me. When I was writing this presentation, I was going through the dev logs and just seeing exactly what we've done. So I'm just going to leave you with all the changes we've done, and this is a really small team in less than 2 months, and this is pretty much, if you can't read it, it's because there's a lot of it. That's where we are.
So thank you, Stavr. Stavr's going to be giving out free hugs later on, because I just said so. I know there's like 20 of you with high-def cameras taking pictures and like, what the fuck does it say there? I know that because it's cool. Anyway, all of this, the small quality of life changes, the little fixes, the improvements, the back-end stuff, sure, very efficient, very effective. What about making it look fucking awesome? I mean, we all care about how it looks, right? And Eve looks fucking awesome. So let's talk a bit about that. So I'm going to ask the visually excellent Benjamin Bon, French guy, you have to pardon his accent, to come on stage and talk a bit about sort of where we're heading with the art of Eve. Give him a good hand.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to be here. I think the first time I was on stage at Fanfest was like 5-6 years ago, and it's getting bigger and bigger. It's fantastic. And I keep looking better and better, obviously. That's also a good thing. Okay, so the art of Eve, yeah. Over the past 18 months, we've been doing a lot of things, touching basically all the different aspects of the game. Most of those things are ongoing work, so nothing is never done, nothing is never good enough anyway. So you can see here a bit of everything, all the things we've been working on. Obviously, the new character creator that opens the door to Incarnate just around the corner. You can see a bit of fashion in there. You can see the environments, the captain's quarters that Teemu will talk about right after, also a bit more in depth. Things also on the space side of things. We've been touching a lot of things on the spaceships, improving their performance visually, but also adding new interesting features. Like right now, we're working on the decals for corp logos, for example, on the ships, and paint jobs as well. We're working on paint jobs. Well, I'm going to go through that a bit more in detail. So. The idea really, here you can see the art director and the creative director of Eve, Ausker and Torve, who are leading the art team towards deeper waters. When I say deeper waters, the idea is really that, of course, all the work we do improve the visual quality of Eve and supports the new features of the game. But the idea really is to bring visually coherence, immersion, and depth into the game. Because, and I'm saying a game, and I feel like it's a mistake. For me, Eve is not a game, it's a parallel universe where you all live and I live as well. It's not a game. So it's all about the immersion and the depth and the coherence of the game. So when we redid all the spaceships and we keep polishing them and we keep fixing all the small things that we want to fix, it's part of improving the coherence of the game. We're working also now, of course, on environments, on characters, effects, all the aspects. It's to bring all that together and make it even more immersive, even more real, because Eve is real. When we looked at the character work, of course, I'm not going to come back over all the character creation tools themselves. A couple of guys will talk about that right after me. Tattoos, for example, is something that could be considered as pure visual fluff, but we don't see it that way. I mean, again, Eve is a real parallel universe. What makes a person unique compared to other persons? It's not just the shape of the face, it's also the way you behave and the way you customize yourself, like in real life. And it's a parallel universe, so why not going a bit further? So we're looking at different tattoos that we want to apply besides the kind of basic racial tattoos. We want to have full sleeves, we want to have tattoos that you can place and scale and rotate and so on. Again, things that are more racial, things that are more kind of casual or at least universal that you can find yourself in. So tattoos are one thing that we're working on, of course. In terms of clothing, what we've released so far is quite generic. It's kind of the Gap lane of the future, which is good enough for a while. But at some point, we also, and we're working on it right now, and we actually have fashion designers working with us on it, with the concept artists on the team. We want to look at collections. We want to look at packages that can be themed. It can be a military package. It can be a corporate package. It could be casual, it could be post-human, cyberpunk. We're looking at all these inspirations to make things, again, it's not just adding a layer of cream to the cake, but it's more going in depth and giving you the option to combine even more options and make yourself even more unique in the game. We're also, of course, in the, look at that guy. You see what happens. You take an avatar, he's a bit sad and lonely there, give him the option to, you know, make a few changes on himself, and suddenly he's all happy and cheerful. Something that we did on the characters, we're also looking at the same kind of approach to the environments that we're designing for the captain's quarters and the upcoming Incarna. We want you to have a home sweet home in Eve, but it has to be badass, of course, and it will be. I mean, it's not just having a glorified kind of a glorified UI that becomes actually a room, but the room itself must feel and be also functional and look the way Eve is supposed to look. Again, what we're doing when designing those environments these days, we don't see it as making something new, but more opening the door to something that already exists in Eve. Eve has been, you know, purely the space side of it for years now, but the stations have always been there, the planets have always been there. So when we create designs like that, we see it as opening the door to something that was already in the game but not accessible yet. So again, it's not just pure visual fluff, but we want to give more depth and give you the opportunity to step even further within the universe itself. Here are a few pieces of the modules and the environments that we're creating these days. You can see a Caldari bed there, a couple of Galente things, and a nice Minmatar balcony going towards the ship docking bay. Well, those are things that we're actually putting together these days, and it's looking fantastic. I guess you'll enjoy it quite a bit. Besides the characters and the interiors, we're also looking, of course, at the space side of things. We've been working a lot on the turrets. The turrets are going to be awesome. The turrets have been a bit the forgotten child of the whole renovation of the Eve universe. So we've not only remodeled and retextured them, but actually every single turret has been totally redesigned in terms of concept. It has been remodeled, retextured, reauthored, added some animation as well. And all that's done in order to make them look and behave as they are supposed to be. So that's something that we're still working on it. You should see it pretty soon, actually. Other things that we're looking at for the spaceships is a bit of a mixed bag, but everything is kind of linked together. We're working hard on every single individual model and UV sets and making some technical work on it so we can apply new shaders, which will open the door to paint jobs and skin ships. So you can have your individual look, or by corp individually, you will be able to pick those kinds of options. We want you to be able to have decals on the ship. Of course, the corp logo is a very good example for that. And just overall, like repackaging also part of the textures and things like that, that we have started to do on some ships, will give the ships a better look, but also they will be more efficient in terms of in-client behavior. And it's something we constantly work on, and we want you to enjoy. One last thing also that we're working on, and that has been a very long project, and we will explain a bit more tomorrow in the art panel, the process to work on those. We're redoing all the nebulas in Eve, so you can see here the difference between what, you know, no, you can see actually what it was, but you can see what it will be. So that's something also that's a kind of a long-haul project that we will be releasing soon. So you will see a bit more of that, and I think Torve in his keynote is also going to show you a bit more. So there you go. That's a bit very quickly overview. There are so many things that we're working on at the moment, and they will be touched again by the guys doing the following presentation. The art panel is at 2 tomorrow afternoon. If you're interested in all that and you want to participate in the Q&A, you're very welcome, of course. And Torve tomorrow is going to show also a bit more juicy stuff in his presentation. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, So let me just get this right, Ben. You said decals on ship. We're talking corporation logos on ships, right? He said yes. Can we? Fuck yeah! What? Awesome, right? That's crazy. Very crazy, actually. And also, the building seems to be taking off for orbit, I think. It's doing something very scary up there on the rafts. Anyway, Duke Nukem Forever, delayed month. What presentation is this? Sorry. Anyway, on the characters, on building these characters. So obviously, you guys have been playing around with the character creator, as you guys play around with so many other things, right? Anyway, here to talk a bit about that are two of the guys that worked on the thing. Craig Scott, lead game designer, and Vigfús Ómarsson, who is a senior technical artist. So please, guys, take it away.
Thanks. There we go. So yeah, I'm Vigfús Ómarsson. I represent the character technical group.
And I'm Craig Scott. I'm the designer on this project, the character customization.
So yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the technology that went into showing the characters and the faces and the sculpting and all that stuff. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying it as much as we enjoyed making it. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, when it came time to update the character creation system of EVE, we knew that we wanted something that was as state-of-the-art as we could possibly make it. So, of course, you start by trying to match what everybody else is doing, and then try to find areas where you can try to push things to get them a little cooler than before. Also, we wanted to try to exploit the fact that we're on PC only, so we don't need to worry as much about memory restrictions and things like that until the next generation shows up. And also, because we only have one character on the screen at once so far, we kind of decided to use that too, so our poly counts are kind of high. So anyway, the new stuff, the stuff that we would consider, having taken things a bit further than before is, of course, texture size. We got huge textures. You can actually crank your machine up to displaying 4,000 by 2,000 pixel textures on a single character. You should only do it, though, if you're pretty confident that your machine is made of beef. The direct manipulation, or sculpting, you poke the face moves. That was another thing that was a lot of fun to do. And I guess it has been done before. Mario 64 did it. Other things you may not notice quite as much, but that are actually kind of complicated, is fitting clothes together. It's really the little details, like when you wear a pair of boots, you can wear them both on the outside and the inside of your pants. When you're wearing a shirt, you can have it loose, you can tuck it in your pants. Stuff that you'd figure would just be an afterthought, but technically this is actually pretty involved. About the sculpting, so this guy is actually made using a version of the system that is completely unrestricted. It's awesome, but you can create some pretty monstrous people. But anyway, we figured that now that it's been kind of shown that it kind of works, that this might very well start showing up in other games. Because would you really go back to sliders? The prodding system, it basically replaces a little over 100 sliders. Because you've got your front view, your side view, and up, down, left, right in all these a dozen or so zones. You may have heard of carbon, and actually the sculpting of the face is a decent example of why carbon exists. The first thing we had to do was basically figure out, is this possible? Can we make it so that if you poke a face, that something happens that you kind of expect to happen? So I basically just went over to the EVE spaceship guys and asked them, so I need to poke a face, and I need to know where I poked it. I know you've been clicking ships. Can you give me something? And they said, oh, yeah, we can do that. This actually does everything you need. I'm like, sweet, we're done. And there are a few other stories like this. When you build central tech, everything takes a little longer to make, and everybody has to spend a little more time making sure it always works. But then when you figure out some new way to use something, it's really nice. There's going to be a lot more about this in the CCP Presents presentation tomorrow. And of course, with the character stuff is advancing, and there's a lot more stuff to come. You've only seen kind of the basic character assembly system, and you're starting to see the stuff that we're going to be adding. You're going to see the piercings, tattoos, and stuff like that. But yeah, this stuff is going to explode. There's going to be a lot more clothes, a lot more stuff, a lot more jewelry. And of course, then we have to take these gigantic characters and cram them down so we can show a few of them at a time, or maybe 100. And the portrait rendering stuff on the server side, we've got some pretty interesting experiments going on. Anyway, check out CCP Presents. I believe our CTO is going to show you some examples. And yeah, and that's it for the tech side. So let's turn it over to Craig and the UI.
Let's see if the clicky thing ever works.
Thanks.
Yeah, Great Bruce is awesome. So, we have this great tech. It's all good, but it's tech. Making that user-friendly, not an easy thing. But with the direct manipulation, we thought, hey, this is great. What can we use this for? Can we use this for everything? Yeah, not so much. So, with that in mind, with this piece of tech, what were our goals? Well, we wanted to create a clean UI. Let's face facts, Eve hasn't got the cleanest UI in the world ever. Increase immersion while you're using it. Historically, character customization systems, you stare at sliders, you might take a peek at your character, stare at sliders. You don't feel immersed in the activity of creating your character. You don't get attached to them. We want to make it simple to use. We wanted to make it so your grandmother, your grandfather, your little nephew, niece, whatever, could play with this and have fun using it. But we also didn't want to limit ourselves. We wanted to make a powerful system, offered a large degree of control. Yeah, that's quite a hefty set of goals, some contradicting each other. So, how did we get there? So we started like this. We spoke to our awesome concept artists, and they went away and drew some pretty pictures. Okay, I think they're compensating for the glare on my head. Don't worry about it. So we have these awesome pictures. And, they took some elements of functionality into account, but, this is concept art. We can't work with that. We can't create a functional system from that. So we took the concept art, and we started to do mock-ups. We have a couple of fantastic UI designers, and they went to town with this stuff, taking what functionality we needed and starting to put it into the mock-up. So you can see it was starting to come together, This actually spans a couple of iterations on the character customization system. Anyone who played around with it on CC, when we first released it, knows the UI changed radically throughout. And, we took those, we launched the CC, we took your feedback, and we thought, some of this stuff we thought was awesome. Yeah, not so awesome. So we went back to the drawing board, and we were like, what can we do? So we iterated and we iterated. As these mock-ups show, we got there gradually over time to a point that we think is pretty damn good. And this is where we ended up. And I hope everyone here has played with it. I'm sure there's a few people still with the silhouette. Could you please change that? It makes me sad. We put all this work in. So this is where we ended up, with lovely, pretty characters. One thing about the direct manipulation that I love is in relation to the female characters. You guys all know what I'm talking about. It was a bumpy ride. Aside from UI concerns, when we started trying to plug a UI over the top of the tech, things went wrong, quite dramatically so. Freaks and weirdos, it's brilliant. And this is only a small section of what went wrong. But for all the things that went wrong, lots of things went right. And, you know, hopefully you guys agree we did meet many of our goals. These are all portraits of developers. If you see them around, buy them a beer. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. More developers still. And it's great. But we know there's areas we can improve on. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We'd like it to be. It's just not. We've done some recent additions. These are on CC now. Check them out. We've added piercing scars and tattoos. Here's some example of the piercing scars and tattoos for the female characters. I think they're looking really great. And here's them for the male characters. You know, we know we left the Mimitar without tattoos for a little while. Hopefully we've corrected that now. And, you know, we're not going to let this sit on a shelf. We are going to do more work on it. You know, we know there's a number of usability issues. I'm sure you guys know where they are. We want to do user position scars and tattoos. You know, the pre-placed ones, they're pretty good. But, you know, let's give people more control. We want to build more depth into our system. Sleeve tattoos. Now, they're really difficult to do, placing them individually. But we're looking to do full sleeve tattoos that are fully customizable and interchangeable. That's going to be awesome. More clothing options. You know, as Ben, wherever the hell he is, said, you know, some of our clothes make everyone look like they're going hiking or just back from the gym. You know, they're pretty cool, don't get me wrong, but we need more options. And, you know, just general customization options. New hairstyles, new makeup. We want to keep iterating on this stuff and putting more out. And, you know, I can talk about this for hours, but I'm not allowed to. I have to leave. But there is a roundtable tomorrow. If you want to talk about it some more, come and have a chat.
So I think I mean, all of this extremely cool, right? I mean, the new character creator, fairly fucking cool. Yeah? Also, getting in the tattoos, you know, they were kind of missing coming in, right? Very soon, you can all get tattooed all over the place. So, tattoos? Yes. Piercings, scars, very cool stuff. Very evil. For the last sort of bit of this presentation, that's sort of running over time, but that's fine. Who needs to be anywhere else? Like, it's not like you guys are dying to go drink a beer or something. So we can sit here for another 10 minutes, right? Anyway, last segment of this. We're going to get a little sneak peek into the captain's quarters. The first walking around characters that you're going to be seeing hitting TQ very soon, in the next few months. Here to talk about that, CCP Kiliat, to talk about captain's quarters. Exciting stuff.
You hear me fine? Great. Yes, my name is Steven Wieland. Oops, oh, I'm missing one. CCP Kiliat from CCP North America, Atlanta. I'm talking about Captain's Quarters. Captain's Quarters is the next increment towards the full platform of Incarna, continuing where the character guys stopped. Well, not stopped, continued onto more awesome character recustomization stuff. But anyways, so this is what we're working on right now. It's coming to the test servers in a week or two. And it's part of the summer expansion. So, first, just briefly, what we're trying to do with this specific Captain's Quarters feature as part of Incarna. Essentially, Captain's Quarters is an environment that replaces the current station hangar. It's about entering Eve, creating your character, and then entering the game through the Captain's Quarters as a walking, living, breathing character. Walking out, undocking into the space and shooting people in the face, docking back. You spawn on the hangar balcony, like one of these. That is part of the Captain's Quarters as well. And it's really about just expanding what Eve is. It's more about it's making it more real. It's about making it even more of an all-encompassing virtual world that just has a completely new depth to its immersion. We all, you and me, I'm an old Eve player, we made the cut. Like, we saw Eve as beautiful, and we liked it. But we also wanted to think about the other guys. Eve is absolutely beautiful. It's social, deep, beautifully complex. It can also be a little bit intimidating to some. And we do want to make Eve more accessible to a wider audience. We want to ease people in. And avatars and characters will have a big impact on that. And the absolutely beautiful thing is that we can achieve all of this while retaining all the existing functionality without changing Eve gameplay, and God forbid, like simplifying or dumbing Eve itself down. We have no intention of doing that. And Captain's Quarters, seen a lot of art. It's going to look beautiful, or even more beautiful. This is the Galente hangar balcony. You can see your ship there. That's what we're aiming for. Or like this. This is the Minimatar Captain's Quarters, a visual target for it. Instructing visual targets on lighting, effects, even sound. And so we're working on this right now. And we started work on the actual Captain's Quarters feature in the beginning of this January. So we've been on it almost 3 months. And I do want to show actually what we actually have running in the client. I also want to talk a little bit about the features that we're making. So if you guys can fire off the video. And this is very raw, straight from development, work in progress material. Lights. Do you like that? So 3 months of hard work. So before going to the, well, fuck it. So a little bit about the stuff that we're actually developing as features into these environments. But Captain's Quarters, or these first Captain's Quarters and this first feature set for the Captain's Quarters, just as character creation was a big step towards Incarna, like full, all-encompassing Incarna. This is also one step. These environments are more or less designed for a relatively new entry-level player. We're using these features to expose, highlight, and bring forth features in Eve that we believe supports a new player, gives them a direction, and just opens up everything that is beautiful about Eve. On the features themselves, main screen, the big hollow screen that you saw there, is essentially for us a window into the greater Eve. We can use it to show news, but not like fluffy content news. It's actually like stuff that is really happening inside Eve being done by players. Like an alliance takes sovereignty from another one. Or we show a picture of the character that lost the Titan yesterday. It's like, or a Concord warning about an incursion event 1 region away. So it's stuff that is really happening, and you can look at it and say like, oh shit, I'm going to go there. Market ticker, customizable, showing you stuff from the market that you're interested in following, seeing when the price of Noxium or salvage is going up. News feeds, for instance, from the Interstellar Correspondence feed, again, exposing things that are actually happening in Eve, as reported, exposing planetary interaction to new players. Ship fitting, agent finder, completely new feature, worked on by the team BFF. We're also reworking the corporation recruitment quite a lot. Better interface, better flow, matchmaking results, 1 click talk to the online recruiting officer, or 1 click go to the recruitment channel of this corporation. With Incarna, of course, we have to rework the crash course so that it works well with the captain's quarters. Made new dungeons. We also restructured the crash course as an epic arc. Aura, coming back with voiceovers, localized to all supported languages. We're also boosting the tutorial windows with images, making some trial structure changes. Captain's Quarters will have the Incarna 3D UI for interacting with all of these things. And just overall, this is of course like a massive amount of new technology on top of the character creator for rendering interiors and characters, lighting, animation, effects, sound, camera, everything. So it's going to be pretty huge. And as I said, we're trying to get it to the test servers as soon as possible. It might be already next weekend, we'll see. And you get to play it next summer.
Okay, so Incarna this summer. What? Very nice, very nice. That was a terrible Borat impersonation. I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. So, clicky click. That's pretty much what we wanted to sort of show you today. It is, and I think it's been a nice progression sort of showing you the entire breadth of how we as a company interact with you as players on working on what we all love and care about so deeply, which is EVE Online. Going from continuously fixing performance issues, under the hood stuff, keeping the code base vibrant, upgrading hardware. We're spending, you know, serious dough when Derek is drunk on buying new hardware. Only when he's drunk though. Buying new hardware, we're optimizing software for experimental hardware, and like we're really putting a lot of effort into that. Quality of life fixes, sort of making new features, balancing that against fixing up old features, doing these usability improvements that you've all wanted. Explaining a bit how art ties into it all, how that flows into the character creator and eventually into Incarna and the captain's quarters. So it's been a blast for me, at least. I hope it's been fun for you. I hope you take away some good points. I just want to mention briefly that you are going to see a lot more sort of future stuff, cool stuff at the CCP Presents show tomorrow, so please do not miss it. Other than that, I want to thank all the guests that came and walked on stage. Could we give them a hand, please?